The wrestling world just exploded with news that nobody saw coming, and trust me when I say this is going to change everything you thought you knew about the championship landscape. Seth Rollins has been stripped of the World Heavyweight Championship, and a new champion has already been crowned in circumstances that are raising more questions than answers. But that's not even the wildest part of this story, because Becky Lynch has come forward with information about the vision that connects all these pieces in ways that will blow your mind. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now, because you're going to want to follow every twist and turn of what's about to unfold. Seth Rollins has been carrying the World Heavyweight Championship with pride and determination ever since he won it, but suddenly everything has come crashing down around him. The announcement came without warning, and fans across the globe were left staring at their screens in complete disbelief. Rollins didn't lose the title in a match. He didn't get pinned. He didn't tap out. The championship was simply taken from him, and that's where the story starts getting really interesting, because the reasons behind this decision are causing massive debates throughout the wrestling community. The official statement mentioned injury concerns and an inability to defend the title within the required time frame, but people who have been following Rollins closely know there's more to this than meets the eye. He's been wrestling through pain before, and everyone knows he's one of the toughest competitors to ever step into that ring. So why now? Why strip him of the title at this particular moment when things were just getting interesting with his reign? The timing feels suspicious, and fans are starting to connect dots that lead to some pretty shocking conclusions. What happened next is where things really take off, because instead of holding a tournament or setting up a #1 contender match, the company moved with lightning speed to crown a new champion. The decision was made behind closed doors, and when the announcement came through, social media went absolutely crazy. People couldn't believe what they were seeing, and the new champion's identity has sparked conversations that range from complete outrage to cautious excitement depending on who you ask. The new World Heavyweight Champion is someone who has been lurking in the shadows waiting for exactly this kind of opportunity. This isn't someone who won the title through traditional means, and that's what makes the whole situation feel so different from anything we've seen before. Championships are supposed to be won in the ring with blood, sweat and tears, but this feels like something was handed over through corporate decisions and backroom dealings. The new champion is already facing criticism from fans who feel like the title has been devalued, but others argue that this is exactly the kind of shake-up the division needed. Now here's where Becky Lynch enters the picture, and trust me, this is where everything starts making sense in the most twisted way possible. Becky has been relatively quiet lately, focusing on her own storylines and staying out of the championship picture, but she decided to break her silence with a statement that nobody expected. She talked about the vision and how everything that's happening right now has been part of a much larger plan that's been in motion for months. The vision isn't just some random faction or storyline device. According to Becky, it's a complete restructuring of how championships and opportunities are distributed in the company. She revealed that conversations have been happening behind the scenes for a very long time, and what we're seeing with Seth Rollins being stripped of his title is just the beginning of something much bigger. The vision apparently involves hand-picking champions based on who fits the image and direction the company wants to go, rather than who earns it through competition. Becky's revelation has sent shockwaves through the locker room, because if what she's saying is true, then nobody's championship reign is safe. It doesn't matter how hard you work or how many matches you win. If you don't fit the vision, then you can be removed from your spot at any moment. This goes against everything wrestling is supposed to stand for, and fans are understandably upset about the implications. The idea that championships could be passed around like participation trophies based on corporate strategy rather than merit is terrifying to people who love the sport. But Becky didn't stop there. She also dropped hints about who else might be affected by the vision in the coming weeks and months. She mentioned several names that immediately got people talking and speculating about what's going to happen next. Some of the biggest stars in the company could find themselves on the outside looking in if they don't align themselves with whatever direction the vision is pushing toward. It's creating an atmosphere of uncertainty where nobody knows if their position is secure anymore. The connection between Seth Rollins losing his title and the vision becomes clearer when you look at the timeline. Rollins has always been someone who speaks his mind and doesn't just go along with whatever script is handed to him. He's fought for creative control and pushed back against storylines he didn't believe in. Could it be that his unwillingness to conform made him a target? Was the injury excuse just a convenient way to remove someone who wasn't playing ball with the vision's agenda? These are questions that fans are asking, and so far nobody from the company has given straight answers. The new champion, on the other hand, seems perfectly positioned to be a company favorite. This is someone who has been groomed and positioned carefully over the past several months. Every appearance has been calculated, and every storyline has been designed to build this person up as the next big thing. Now, with the championship suddenly in their possession, it feels less like destiny and more like manufactured success. That's not to say the new champion isn't talented, because they absolutely are, but the way this all went down leaves a bitter taste for people who wanted to see the title change hands in a more legitimate way. Becky Lynch's involvement in exposing the vision is interesting because she's taking a huge risk by speaking out. She's essentially confirming that there's a power structure in place that controls who gets opportunities and who gets left behind. By going public with this information, she's painting a target on her own back, because the people behind the vision aren't going to be happy about having their plans exposed. But Becky has never been someone who backs down from a fight, and her willingness to speak truth to power is one of the reasons fans respect her so much. The reaction from other wrestlers has been mixed. Some have come forward to support what Becky is saying and validate her claims about the vision. They've shared their own experiences of being passed over for opportunities or having storylines changed at the last minute for reasons that had nothing to do with their performance. Others have stayed silent either because they're scared of repercussions or because they're benefiting from the vision themselves. The locker room is clearly divided, and that division is starting to play out in real time as people choose sides. Social media has been absolutely on fire since all of this broke. Fans are creating hashtags demanding answers and calling for Seth Rollins to get his championship back through legitimate means. There are petitions circulating that have gathered thousands of signatures in just a few hours. People are threatening to cancel their subscriptions and stop watching if the company doesn't address what's happening with the vision. The backlash is real and it's intense, which means the company is going to have to respond sooner rather than later. What makes this situation even more complicated is that Seth Rollins himself hasn't said much publicly. He posted a brief statement acknowledging that he's no longer champion, but he didn't go into details about why or whether he agrees with the decision. His silence is deafening, and it's making people wonder if he's been told to keep quiet or if he's planning something bigger. Rollins has never been the type to just accept defeat without a fight, so his lack of public outrage is suspicious in its own way. The new champion held a brief press conference where they tried to address some of the controversy, but it didn't go well. They talked about being ready for this moment and how they've worked their entire career for this opportunity, but the questions kept coming back to whether they felt like they really earned it. The champion got defensive and cut the press conference short, which only made them look worse in the eyes of critics. It's a tough position to be in because even if they are talented and deserving, the circumstances of how they won the title will always be questioned. Becky Lynch's mention of the vision having a broader reach beyond just the World Heavyweight Championship is perhaps the scariest part of all this. She hinted that other titles across different divisions might be subject to the same kind of manipulation. That means tag team championships, women's championships, and even mid-card titles could all be part of this master plan. If that's true, then we're looking at a complete overhaul of how success is measured and achieved in professional wrestling. Some industry insiders have started coming forward with their own information about the vision. Former wrestlers and backstage personnel have given interviews where they claim this kind of thing has been going on for years, but never quite this blatantly. They say that there have always been favorites and people who get pushed regardless of merit, but the vision takes it to a whole new level by making it official policy rather than just an unspoken practice. These revelations are adding fuel to an already raging fire. The question now is what happens next. Does Seth Rollins fight to get his championship back through legal channels, or does he take matters into his own hands inside the ring? Will the new champion be able to establish themselves as legitimate, or will they always be seen as someone who got handed the title? And what about Becky Lynch? She's opened Pandora's box by talking about the vision, so what consequences will she face for speaking out? These are the storylines that are going to dominate wrestling conversation for weeks and possibly months to come. There's also the matter of fan trust. Wrestling has always required a certain suspension of disbelief where fans accept predetermined outcomes as long as the stories are compelling and the matches are exciting. But when it becomes clear that decisions are being made purely for corporate reasons with no regard for storytelling or earned moments, then that trust gets broken. Fans invest emotionally in these characters, and when they feel like that investment is being disrespected, they start walking away. The company needs to be very careful about how they handle this situation, or they risk losing a significant portion of their audience. The wrestling business has survived controversies before, and it will survive this one too, but the landscape might look very different when the dust settles. Championships might mean less than they used to if fans believe they can just be awarded based on who fits a corporate vision. Wrestlers might start demanding more control over their characters and storylines to protect themselves from being victims of behind-the-scenes politics. And fans might become more cynical and less willing to buy into the narratives they're being sold. Seth Rollins being stripped of the World Heavyweight Championship with a new champion crowned immediately, and Becky Lynch revealing the existence of the vision has created a perfect storm of controversy, chaos, and compelling drama. Whether this was all planned as part of an elaborate storyline or whether real backstage tensions are bleeding into what we see on screen is almost impossible to tell anymore. That's what makes this moment so fascinating and so dangerous at the same time. Wrestling works best when the lines between reality and fiction are blurred, but if those lines disappear completely, then the whole foundation of the business gets shaken. Make sure you stay subscribed because this story is far from over, and you're going to want to see how it all plays out as more information comes to light and more people start choosing sides in what's becoming the biggest controversy in wrestling today.